everybody, Gina DeLuca here. All right, today I'm going to be doing a straight pour. Surprise. Yes, I do a lot of straight pours. I love them. I'm fascinated by the reactions between the paints and how, you can put two paints together that create a whole new effect, and I don't feel like I have exhausted all of the possibilities of combinations of these cell making paints, and so sometimes magic can happen, and so I'm trying for magic. The colors that I'm using today for my background / base coat, I have this lovely Tiffany blue color. It's actually kind of a what we have. I'll explain it in a second. Titanium White from Liquitex Basics. And I have the Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green. And it is about 3 times as much green as it is blue in this color. And I know it may not look like it, but that Phthalo Blue is a very, very strong pigment. And you don't need a lot of it to tint your paint. So I have it mixed with titanium white to create this color that I love, and also because I know titanium white gives me great reactions with my cell makers. So, always I throw that in when I need to, when I'm doing backgrounds for straight pours. I would rather just mix my own than to buy something that was this color already. I mean, I'm trying to pare down on all of the paints that I have. So if I can mix it myself and just have like this basic, construct of colors. But then of course there's some colors you can't mix. You can't mix magenta, you just have to buy it. But you can buy this color relatively close to this color in a tube, or you can just mix it yourself. I have Decoart Americana Decor Metallics in Emerald. This is such a beautiful color. It is so shimmery. It glows on a canvas. And I have the Decoart Americana Decor Matte Metallics in Sapphire Blue. If you mix these colors together, it makes a beautiful color mixed together. Almost like Mysterious. If you use the deep sapphire and that green, it is just like Mysterious. And we have the Decoart Americana Decor Metallics in Copper. So, the copper against any of these colors is going to look beautiful. Copper with green, copper with blue, absolutely gorgeous. So, I love the contrast that you get with that. These paints have been mixed 1 part paint to 2 parts mixed pouring medium. And you can get this pouring medium by emailing Krista8974@gmail.com. So 1 part paint to 2 parts mixed pouring medium. And then I thin that mixture with some water until I get the consistency that I'm going for, which there's a shadow and I don't think you can really see it. I have got to get this lighting situation figured out. Well, it's like it looks good from certain angles, and then when I try to do stuff like this, you can't see it. So this is about a 2 on my consistency scale. Let me see if I grab a lighter color, if that helps at all. This is about a 2 on my consistency scale. It is making a mound, but it disappears very quickly. And it runs very smoothly off the stick. This is a thin 2. This is a 2, like a straight 2, not a 2.5. This is a 2. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you all of the information that you need, the exact paint brands, colors, consistency, the recipe, all of it. And then this is a picture of that particular painting. In that video, this box here contains a tip for that particular technique, and here at the bottom we have the color palette used in that particular painting. And then these two boxes can be used together as the basis of a two-color palette, or you can build off of those two. And then we have the bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. Use all of the colors or just some of the colors. Mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more techniques more paintings than you could ever paint in a lifetime. More combinations than you could possibly paint in all your days. And these are available at my website, GinaDeLuca.net, and also at Amazon.com. And if you get them off of Amazon, please do leave feedback. It really helps a sister out over there. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is lay down this base coat. The reason I lay down a base coat is because it gives my poured paints something to slide around on. Something has to stick to the canvas first. And if you don't have a base coat, then your poured paints will be sticking to the canvas, and the edges of your puddle will wind up disappearing because the paint will be rolling over top of itself. So the edge of your pour will stick, and then the center of your pour will roll over top of it. And sometimes the coolest stuff happens on the edges. This is one of the reasons why I use a base color that is interesting. Even if it's going to get completely covered up, I want the option of having negative space, just in case. But also, if you wind up with bubbles in your base coat, it is better that your base coat is a color that works in your painting, because when you have bubbles and they come to the top, it brings paint with it, and you can wind up with these tiny little pinhead sized cells that are very distracting if it is not a color that is in your painting. And I pre-paint my sides with my base coat color just in case, because I mix my straight pours pretty thin. I wind up getting the best cell results when I mix thinner, and sometimes in particular when I'm using Floetrol, not so much with mix sticks really well, but with Floetrol it can get very thin on the sides, and your canvas can show through your paints that have like dripped down the sides and gotten thinner, and we don't want that, because then you have to go back and fix it after it's dry. And if you have a custom blend color like this, it's going to be very hard to match it. So, you know, an ounce of prevention and all of that. All right, my base coat is down, and I am going to put some paint in a cup. All right, I have reserved some of the paint. I'm actually going to try to have a bit of negative space. Going to try. Always be sure to check the consistency before you put it in the cup. The sauce may thicken upon standing. Okay, going to pour from up high and let this blend. going to add, I don't usually do this, but again, I want some of this negative space. So I'm going to add some more of my base color. And actually, I think I'm going to do the blue next. I want the blue next to the copper. Oh, so I did have in my base coat a lot, and I mean a lot, of schmutz that I noticed while I was mixing it. I don't know what it was from. So what I did was I put a piece of pantyhose over the cup and poured it into another cup. So basically I just strained it. And now it's perfectly smooth. So if you find that it's better to just strain it than it is to try to pick it out of your painting, because it can ruin your painting by the time you get to it. Alrighty. And for the green, so my copper didn't really sink, and that is okay. That is why I have some of this paint on reserve. Let me just pull this in before I do it, because I don't want it to start making cells before I'm ready for it. I'm going to pop the bubbles in this base coat. Okay, and then I'm just going to take what is left and go right over top. So now these colors have something they can react with. If I just poured it like that, I would have a bunch of copper on the edge and it wouldn't sell. It would just be looking pretty on the edge. Okay, there we go. And if I let this sit, it will just start to sell up as it sits. Let's make a mess, shall we? And I'm gonna kind of twist it to try to get a little variety in those colors, so it's not all on one side. I'm gonna do a couple of rings in here, remembering that what is happening in the center is going to get stretched out and it's going to become a focal point. As it gets closer to the end of the cup, I get closer to the canvas, I move it slower. Getting some of that blue in there. Love that. Right, I'm just going to touch up that center a bit because I know once that's stretched out, that's going to be a focal point. All right. Okay, got some boulders happening here on the edge. Unfortunately, that'll probably get tilted off. I'm gonna pop these bubbles. This technique does create a great deal of bubbles. Get that base coat again, just cause. All right, so what happens is, oh, that might look really cool. As the bubbles that are in the layers underneath, as they start rising to the top, it brings paint with it. And if it were the base coat that was coming up, it would just be little pinhead cells. But because these are cell makers, as they pop up, they're going to grow, because this is not the Rayleigh Taylor instability at work. That is based on density. This is actually a hydrophobic effect between the Decoart paints and the basic, the Liquitex paints. And it doesn't have to be Liquitex or Decoart, but what I have found is the Decoart paints are more matte than many of the Liquitex Basics paints. And so I've kind of figured out which ones work, and you know, I kind of just go with that. So the Phthalo blue and green have a great reaction. The Titanium White has a great reaction, so I know having them together, I should be good to go. And then, yeah, so it's a hydrophobic effect, and it pops up, and then it's pushing the other paint away. It pushes the Liquitex paint away, and it expands. So, allowing these bubbles a chance to come to the top and bring those bits of paint with them, and allowing it to stretch, that increases the odds of getting boulder cells like these. These would definitely turn into boulder cells without question. But giving the opportunity for the other paints to come up a bit will also allow you to get the boulder cells. I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of boulder cells, just the way that this is setting up. We'll see what happens. I mean, the colors are going to look pretty together no matter what, so we shall see. But this part, you know, patience is a virtue. Be patient. If you have to walk away and go do something for, you know, 7 minutes, then do that. Like, you know, whatever it is. Just if you're too impatient, figure out a little task to do while this is percolating. Yeah, and normally I use Floetrol when I'm doing these, and it gives me a different effect than the mix does. I've gotten great results with the satin enamel paints and mix. But let's see what happens with just a regular straight pour here. I'm going to give this one more torch before I tilt. Okay. Just trying to see which direction is most set up for the first corner. I think it's going to be this one. All right, I think I will hit this opposing corner here. Slowly and gently. I may have gone too thin with my mix because there's some funny stuff happening. Got a bit of flocking going on here. I see schmutz. It is important to get the schmutz as soon as you see it, because it will cause irregularities in your lines. And I can't really tell where it is, but I think I just got it. Hopefully that was all of it. Sometimes you can't see the schmutz, but you can see what it's doing to your painting. Okay, well, there's some funny things happening. I don't know if I love it. Not the overall composition, but it's breaking up a bit. So I feel like this mix was too thin for this pouring medium. So I think for this pouring medium, I would stay in the 3 range for consistency, because the metallics have broken up. But I'm gonna let this sit, and then I will bring you in for a close-up and we will examine what happened. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. I mean, from a distance, it's still very pretty. The colors look great together. But when you get up close, you can see that the metallics kind of broke up. And that can happen when you go too thin. But typically what happens is it makes a sheen across like the painting, but it where it's celled up, like it still looks like it's celled up. Anyway, it's it kind of creates like a bit of a fuzzy effect, which is kind of neat. It's kind of soft. Look at the depth in those lines right there. Very cool. But I love these colors together. I did not get the reaction that I would normally get with Floetrol. And you can see these little tiny cells, these little pinpoints of green and blue. That would not happen with Floetrol. They would grow. And they would become the pop-up cells or the pearl cells, whatever you want to call them. So it's a very different effect. And I have tried a couple of times to do my style of straight pour with the mix with the Decoart Metallics, and I am not able to get the same results that I get with Floetrol. But I do get the results that I would get with Floetrol when I'm using the satin enamel. So if I'm going for that cloudy effect, I can use the mixed pouring medium. But you can see it still holds up on the sides pretty well. I mean, considering it's all kind of gotten a bit fluffy, but it still holds those lines. And so even though the mix is too thin, I assume that's why, that it was too thin. Yeah. So I will, in my next painting, use these exact same colors with Floetrol and see what the effect is. And I will try to keep it as exact as possible and do everything the same way if I can. But yep, there we have it. So I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and to all of that good stuff. Do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. My website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and fluid art inspiration cards for sale. That looks very 3D in there. Still some very cool effects. I'm not going to scrape this. I still think it's pretty. It just didn't give me the effect I was intending. Also in the description box you will find What else is in there? All my affiliate links, Decoart, Arteza, Amazon, Blick. If you enter through those websites, or enter those websites through the links in my description box, I will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. And you will also find in the description box the link to our Facebook group. Go make some art. Join us there. Post your masterpieces. Ask your questions. Get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. It is the internet after all. I think that's it. Is that it? I think that might be it. All right. That is it for me for today. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.